In 1966, the United States Army built one of its largest bases in Vietnam. It was called Cu Chi Base Camp, about 30 kilometers northwest of Saigon. Thousands of soldiers were stationed there. Helicopters constantly flew overhead. Artillery guarded the perimeter. Watchtowers scanned the jungle day and night. Floodlights turned darkness into daylight. On paper, the base was nearly impossible to attack. But every night, something terrifying happened. After the sun went down, chaos would suddenly erupt inside the base. An explosion, gunfire, screams. Soldiers rushed toward the noise, but by the time they arrived, the attackers were gone. No footsteps, no retreating soldiers, no bodies, just dead Americans and silence. And every morning, the same report appeared on the commander's desk. Base attacked during the night. Enemy escaped. Patrols searched the jungle every single day. Helicopters scanned from above. Engineers inspected the entire perimeter, but they found nothing. It felt like they were fighting ghosts. Then one day, a patrol discovered something strange. Just outside the base fence, hidden under leaves, was a small hole in the ground. At first, it didn't look important. An engineer knelt down and shined his flashlight inside. The hole dropped downward, then curved into darkness. He stood up and said something that would change everything. "Sir, I think we found the problem." Because what nobody knew yet was this. Beneath the base, beneath the barracks, beneath the kitchens, there was an entire underground world. More than 250 kilometers of tunnels stretched beneath the Cu Chi region, and for years, enemy fighters had been living directly beneath American soldiers. The tunnels were older than the war. The Cu Chi tunnels didn't start during the American War. They began much earlier. In the 1940s, Vietnamese fighters started digging small underground shelters to hide from French bombing attacks. At first, the tunnels were simple, just small hiding places, but over time, they grew, year after year. By the time American troops arrived in the 1960s, the tunnels had already been expanding for almost 20 years. The ground in Cu Chi made this possible. The soil there is a special type of red clay. When dry, it becomes extremely hard, almost like concrete. That meant tunnels could survive nearby explosions. They wouldn't collapse easily. The Vietnamese didn't choose this place by accident. They chose it because the earth itself could protect them. How the tunnels were built. The tunnels were not built with machines. There were no bulldozers, no drills, no heavy equipment. Only simple tools, short-handled hoes, small shovels, and wicker baskets. Most of the digging happened at night. Workers had to stay hidden from patrols and aircraft. The soil they removed was carried away in baskets and scattered across fields and rivers, because if piles of dirt appeared, enemy aircraft would notice. Every entrance was carefully hidden. Some were covered with leaves and grass. Others were disguised as termite mounds. Some entrances were even hidden underwater inside ponds. You had to dive underwater just to find them. And the entrances were extremely small, sometimes only 60 centimeters wide, just big enough for a Vietnamese fighter to squeeze through, but too small for most American soldiers to follow. A city beneath the jungle. Over time, the tunnels became far more than hiding places. They became an underground city. Some sections had 3 different levels. The first level was about 3 meters underground. The second was about 6 meters deep. The deepest level reached almost 9 meters below the surface. Trap doors connected each level. If one level was flooded or attacked, fighters simply moved deeper. Inside the tunnels were entire facilities, hospitals where surgeons operated by candlelight, workshops where weapons were repaired, storage rooms filled with supplies, even kitchens with special ventilation systems. The smoke traveled through long tunnels before coming out far away from the entrance, so from above, nobody could see it. At its peak, as many as 10,000 people lived underground in the Cu Chi tunnels. Some people were born there, some married there, and many died there, all while American soldiers walked above them, completely unaware. America tries to destroy the tunnels. The U.S. military tried everything to destroy the tunnel system. First, they tried bombing. Massive B-52 bombers dropped thousands of tons of explosives. The jungle above ground was completely destroyed, but deep underground, the tunnels survived. The fighters simply waited until the bombing stopped, then they came back out. Next came chemical warfare. Aircraft sprayed Agent Orange, a powerful chemical that killed plants and stripped trees of their leaves. The jungle turned brown and lifeless, but the tunnels underneath were untouched. Engineers then tried flooding the tunnels with water, but the system had sealed trapdoors between sections. Flooded sections were abandoned, while the rest of the network continued operating. The military even used trained dogs to find hidden entrances, but the tunnel fighters adapted quickly. They spread pepper and American soap around entrances to confuse the dogs' sense of smell. One by one, every strategy failed. The tunnel rats. Eventually, the U.S. Army made a desperate decision. If machines couldn't destroy the tunnels, humans would have to enter them. Special soldiers were selected. They had to be small and thin enough to squeeze into the narrow passages. Many were Australians, were smaller-framed Americans. These soldiers became known as tunnel rats. Before entering the tunnels, they removed most of their equipment. No helmet, no rifle, no heavy gear. Inside the tunnels, a rifle was useless. There wasn't enough space to aim it. So they entered with only a pistol, a flashlight, and sometimes a knife. Every step inside the tunnels was dangerous. Hidden traps were everywhere. Sharp bamboo spikes called punji traps, tripwires, poisonous snakes placed in containers that would fall when doors opened, poisonous snakes hidden in small boxes, and somewhere in the darkness, enemy fighters who knew the tunnels perfectly. Fighting often happened just a few meters apart. Sometimes soldiers could hear breathing in the darkness before seeing their enemy. Many tunnel rats said the worst part wasn't the fighting, it was the darkness, the silence, and the feeling that something might be waiting just inches away. The final result. The war lasted for years. Billions of dollars were spent trying to destroy the tunnels, yet the network survived. When American forces finally withdrew from Vietnam in 1975, large parts of the tunnel system were still intact. The Cu Chi tunnels became one of the most famous examples of guerrilla warfare in modern history. A massive underground network built mostly by hand that challenged one of the most powerful militaries in the world. Today, parts of the tunnels still exist, and they remind us of one powerful truth about war. Technology doesn't always decide victory. Sometimes survival, patience, and determination are the most powerful weapons of all. If you enjoy this story, subscribe for more real history.